Hello and welcome to our God of War review here at Dimp Digital. You've got myself, Apps, who will be interviewing the only man qualified to take on this job. It's Tom Adkins, not Adcock. How you doing?
Boy! I am bloody good. Yourself?
Yes, very good, thank you. Not the most terrible impression of our Kratos, but no. It's something we might stumble across onto actually is the changing casting and whether that's had an effect, because there are a lot of changes from the I guess the older segment of the God of War franchise. But let's get your cards on the table on a rundown. What's sort of your history with, I guess, the God of War franchise really and Santa Monica Studios?
Yeah, I am a day dot boy. A day dot. Actually, that's a lie. I'm not a day dot. I didn't play I did play the God of War series on the PS2, but not day dot.
No,
but I still consider myself a day dot.
Well, back then, you probably didn't have enough money just to be buying on day one. So it was
2005, was it?
Yeah, a long time ago.
So I wasn't a day one, but I did definitely play them. I remember. Because I remember it was one of the first games where you could see titties in it, and I was well happy. Something to discredit the new game. So, so I am a day dot. I've played all of them, every single one, even the remasters that they done on the. I even had one of the PSP games, and then I bought the remasters of them.
Right.
On PS3. I have pop culture of Kratos. I'm a big God of War man. Boy.
So there you go. That's the sort of history. A big fan. Played them all. I'd only ever played 3 on the PS4 remaster, so limited experience, but I can see how much of a shift they've had for that. How long, roughly, do you think you spent playing God of War?
Well,
it's got no timer on it. That's one of our criticisms, I think. But
what this current one? Do you mean?
Yeah, sorry.
Right. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I think it must have been somewhere in the region of 40 to 45 hours. I reckon.
Right.
Because I did platinum it.
Right.
So we'll get that out there on the table.
So you've gone through, got the Platinum Trophy.
Platinum Trophy, which is completing the game and all the extras.
Yeah.
And some other bits, but yeah.
Excellent. And this is primarily a single player game. There's no online functionality there, so that's impressive for a game that is just focused on the campaign to have that much meat to it.
The last game before this, it would have been, God of War Ascension. That did have a multiplayer feature.
I heard about this, yes.
But it got swiftly binned. It didn't sound too bad. It was like it was almost sort of like a co-op mode. You had like a big boss, and then you sort of had little waves of things coming. But they swiftly binned that and went for the single player only.
Is it fair to say before this kind of, it's not really a reboot, and we'll come on to why that is later on, but this new direction, that it was perhaps the series is on a bit of a downward trend slightly?
Yeah, I definitely think so. It was getting a bit stagnated.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there wasn't a backlash, to be honest. I mean, as we get into how good the game is, I thought there might have been like a small bunch of fans that were sort of like, no, this is nothing like my God of War. But I didn't seem to see that from anywhere, like on Twitter or any of the news sites. Everyone just seems to be on board with it. So I think, with that, I think like you say, I think that there's just, what was it? So this is number 8 in the chronology. So 7 games, like I say, I think it was starting to stagnate. So it was definitely time for a change.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because that was one of my sort of predictions, that this would cause a bit of an uproar with the fans because of how different it was. And this is even before release. There's some of the things they'd mentioned, like Kratos doesn't jump up anymore, and the camera's anchored behind him, and things like that. And I was thinking, cool, this is going to go down like a shitstorm, but it hasn't at all, because critically, so far, according to Open Critics, the best scoring game of the year. So that accolade is not to be taken lightly. We've still got a long way to go, but in my mind, there's only 2 games that can get near that, and that's a Red Dead Redemption 2 and possibly a Spider-Man, but he's set down a marker for this first half of the year. I mentioned that this is not really a reboot, and coming into the game, I was expecting this to be a reboot, but it's to me it is more of a sequel. And if we move into the narrative of this, obviously we don't want to spoil anything for the guys that haven't played it, but one of the, again, we look back in the past, and you might say that some of the weaker parts of the God of War games of old age were that the story and the narrative wasn't really that good.
Yeah.
Do they address that with God of War in 2018?
Yeah, 100%. I was right with you. I also thought the same. Like when I first saw that they were going for this new Norse mythology setting, I thought they were going to struggle to sort of like bring up old God. I thought it was going to be a complete reboot. Like no ties whatsoever. But I was sitting there thinking, well, why has he got white skin and steel and all these tattoos? What's happened here?
Yeah, he said he's scarred, didn't he, from his belly?
That's it, exactly. So, yeah, my concern was that. But yeah, you're bob on there with the story. That was always the weakest point. Like, I quite enjoyed them still, but they're not ones that are going to be... The games aren't remembered for their great stories.
No.
Narrative driven. They're interesting enough, but it was more sort of like the fun gameplay, the speed of it, you're upgrading. There's a lot of puzzles as well, which didn't seem to... There's a few in this game, but not many. So I think the sole focus on this game was definitely the narrative. It was definitely narrative driven. And that big help.
I think like the old games, just by playing free, the story was more of a vehicle for the action. Whereas the narrative is very, in my opinion, very strong for this particular title, and like you said, is a main focal point for it. Another thing that's out there for everyone to see and look at, if you look at the visuals of this game, is that it is quite stunning, isn't it?
I think I think it just pips Horizon Zero Dawn and Uncharted 4 as the best looking game on PS4.
Jesus.
I'd say. I think it's just awesome. It's just really awesome.
You're playing this on PS4 Pro, aren't you?
I was indeed, yeah. I think I watched a Digital Foundry video and it was like a checkerboard in 4K. So it's not native, but
I don't be noticing.
Nah. So yeah, I played it on that, and I was impressed the whole way through, straight from the get go, really. Sort of when you're in the snow and all that. It still looks pretty. It's like just all bland colours, really, and it's just like white and brown. They still managed to make it look sexual.
It certainly is a great looking game. Did you experience any issues with it? Any issues with the frame rate, or any crashes, or anything like that, or was it all good on that front?
I think it was okay. The only time I used to get a bit of slowdown. When after I was I kept running. It might have been a rest mode thing. It might have been, because I did have it in rest mode quite a bit. But if I'd maybe fast travelled or something and was trying to sort of run through, it sort of took a little while to sort of catch up. And I guess that's because of its big focal point as well, is that it's one seamless take.
Yes, the camera,
I thought was incredible. I was quite worried about that, to be honest, thinking, how is this going to pull off? Like, is it going to be too overbearing? Am I not going to be able to feel like I can stop? So, but it paid off really well. And I wonder if it was just sort of the engine sort of trying to keep up, where I was trying to sort of whiz through. But other than that, I only played on the 30 FPS mode. I didn't give performance mode a go yet.
No.
I wouldn't have thought, with the game looking as good as it does, I wouldn't have thought that would be hitting a solid 60.
No. I think it was somewhere in like the high 40s or mid 50s. But I stuck to the presentation mode, as they called it anyway. But it sounds like it's good on that front anyway.
Did you have any problems with it, or?
No, not really. If I was really being critical, I noticed there was some popping in the distance, but the only other times I had like stutter or slowdown was when I'd boosted it I turned it on after being in rest mode. The first 10 seconds where the application's still loading, it happens nearly with every game. It was like when I was going through the menus, it was laggy, but once it had figured out that I was trying to play it again, it's like, oh, hello. and then it would catch up. But I don't think that's anything to do with the game. That's more the PS4's rest mode not being as good as perhaps what the Xbox One's is when it comes to that. But very impressed from my perspective as well from the presentation and performance side. Yeah. More changes for the God of War franchise is just how the game is structured. So can you give a little insight to the guys how this particular one works and how it might be different to some of the others?
Right. So the old games were very, very linear. You literally had point A to point B.
It fixed camera.
It was fixed camera. It wasn't as close quarters as this. This was
no.
But it was more sort of, I don't know, it did move quite a bit, actually, to be honest. I was just thinking that, I remember the beginning of God of War 3 is sort of all over the place. Because the enemies were a lot larger in them games. That's something that I thought another thing would be quite a big concern. So I think because the enemies were larger, the camera seemed to move far away quite a lot. So you see Kratos quite small, and because, like you say, because you had the option to jump, and it was a very fast-paced game. You've got blades of chaos flipping everywhere. It was sort of all over the place. So this is a very much more grounded, behind the over-the-shoulder style game.
Yeah.
But with this, they've sort of been that you start off in a linear path, and then the game just opens up completely and you can do what you want. You have this sort of linear path if you want to take it, but there are so many other options that you can do. You can sort of take it how you want. And it was weird to see a God of War game in this open world. I suppose it is open world because all the sort of places do connect.
Yeah.
But sometimes it can be a bit restricting. It's not like a fully fledged open world, isn't it?
No, you can visit areas and you can take on side quests, and you have the freedom to go at your own pace. It certainly is a lot more open than, say, something like The Last of Us, where you are moving through areas, bit by bit.
Yeah.
God of War in 2018 is, it's a huge, sprawling area for you to go and explore at your leisure.
Yeah,
and take, like I said, you don't have to prioritise the story if you don't want to. There are side quests there, which I don't remember bumping into in the God of War 3 game I played. So again, another new part, and something else they've expanded upon. I mean, it always had RPG elements, the God of War series, but they've gone one step further with the introduction of the upgrades for your weapons, which obviously we've had, but the armor and the loot that you can collect along your travels. So the open nature really does give you a lot more choices in that front. Did you think that was a positive change to introduce new armors to craft and upgrade and put runes in and all this sort of good stuff, or was it a little bit overkill?
No, I thought it was a great blend. Yeah, it was a definite plus side on them. It did feel sort of like the Witcher style, I felt. But you really can sort of tailor him to how you want. You can sort of focus on power, strength, or runic, I think it wasn't it?
That's it, yeah.
Different things. The added RPG elements were perfect, I think. I think they've done a great job with that.
Yeah, and I think the one of the good things is the balance of the difficulty. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
It gives you a good challenge. There's no microtransactions in here for us to worry about, so we're free of all that. All this is all very well and good, but how does the game control and what are the mechanics like? Does it fall flat here? Because again, there's been changes made.
No, so this was a big concern. I remember when you first told me the info, you're like, "There's no jump button." I was thinking, "What? A God of War game with no jump button? This is going to be weird."
He's got bad knees now, you see.
Yeah, old boy Kratos is fucking livid. Can't even hop over a. Well, that's a lie. He cannot, can he?
He can hop, skip, and jump, but he ain't. In the old ones, you could jump up about 10 feet in the air and start, ringing together combos, but he's not got that option now. Like, it's very grounded.
Yeah, I'd imagine if you go back now, he probably does feel like an absolute slug now, doesn't he? The way he's sort of running through. You try to get a bit of a jog on, he can, but I thought it worked pretty well actually. Sort of, he naturally sort of hops over ledges and stuff as you can do it. Does a bit of traversing here and there, up little chains and whatnot. Yeah. But I thought, the controls just on Kratos himself were really good. What impressed me was Atreus. I really thought your companion in the game, your son, I thought he was going to be like one of those annoying AIs that was going to get in the way and really didn't need to be there, just there sort of for the narrative side. But he actually became him really helpful.
Yes.
So I suppose because you can control what he does, I said, well, only really shooting arrows, that's his only thing, but he sort of, you can decide when and where they go, and what type of arrows as well, which was a bit of fun. So yeah, I thought the control on Kratos was brilliant. Now I'm going to make this statement about the weapon controlling.
Right, yeah.
The Leviathan axe is the greatest ever gaming weapon. That's not even
no, that is. I've heard that sentiment a lot, and it is a fantastic piece of kit. If Kratos would ever describe it like that, he definitely wouldn't. But run through some of the cool things you can do with this, because it certainly is a highlight for me.
I think I must have spent the first 20 minutes just chucking it at a tree and then calling it back.
Yeah.
So if none of you have ever seen any clips of this game or anything like that, just picture a motherfucking axe and you're Thor from the Marvel universe. With Mjolnir or whatever it's called. Yeah. So you can throw this axe to wherever you want. You can get some distance on it. It's weird having the controls on this game, because on the old God of War games you always had the face button, so square, triangle, X and circle, those were the attack buttons, where they've lifted it up now to the shoulder buttons. So you got R1 and R2, so you got light attack and heavy attack, so you can choose where this axe goes. So the stronger you do it, the further it goes, and you can chuck it at anywhere and it will get stuck into. You can chuck it at an enemy, chuck it at a tree, and then you have to press triangle to call it back, and if there's an enemy in the way, when on that way back, that's going to hit in the back of the head. Yeah, or you can trip them up as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, there's all sorts you can do, and the axe plays into some of the puzzle solving, because you'll need to throw it at certain. It's got a freezing element to it as well, so you can freeze enemies, and you can, if you want, if enemies are more susceptible to a stun, you can throw the axe at one of the other enemies, freeze them, keep them out of the way. Go and attack someone with your hands and fists and build up a stun, and then melee rip them to pieces. So
and the skill trees that you open up for the just for the Leviathan axe, the different things as you go on, you can do sort of little combos, and there's like slow-mo in there. There's so many cool things about this axe. Like you're saying, you can add elemental damage to it. Hands down, it's the greatest gaming weapon of all time, in my opinion.
There you go. That seals the controls up nice and tightly there. I think I know the answer to this one. For the price paid, and not even really worrying about it, but does the game offer good value? We've already spoken about 40 plus hours putting in, and so far from what we've been talking about, I feel like the quality sounds like it's there from your perspective as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we paid full price for this one. There was no getting away with it. Unfortunately, I looked and looked, but I was happy to pay that. Something like not God of War, sorry, Horizon Zero Dawn. I platinumed that.
Crikey.
Straight after, sort of, I just wanted to play a different game because I'd had enough of that. With this game, I want to play it again now. I want to go back and play it again after sticking 40 hours in it. Yes. There is enough. I could probably still do a few more little bits. I still haven't got everything to 100%. There's probably like chests and stuff I haven't unlocked. So there is enough material out there for a worthy purchase. Yeah. You could easily sink 50 to 60 hours in this, I think, if you're doing it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm far off that, to be honest.
No. And there's rumoured to be a New Game Plus mode coming, which is also another...
Give me that.
Give me that now. Yeah. So, yeah. And after hearing Biff completed it on hard mode... That's give me a boner to go and give it a second go.
Can't let him have the hard part on his own.
I was impressed with that.
Yeah, considering he can't complete the basics of games.
Well, that's right. I know I haven't finished it yet, but Bloodborne he put. But the trouble is, there is no evidence of his completion on any difficulty. He could be lying to us.
He could be lying to us, yeah, because you can change the difficulty up and down, which is a nice touch, actually. So if you did start it too hard or it was too easy, you can freely move it. I think it's the very top level, Give Me God of War, or whatever the mode is called. You cannot come off or down from that. So if you commit to that, you've had it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but the other ones you can move.
Before starting the game, I see a few people that have got the game early, and there's some professional YouTubers who sort of do walkthroughs and stuff, and I saw them making comments saying like they started the game on hard and later on they had to turn it down. They just couldn't physically get through it, so that put me off. And Biff's better than them.
Yeah, but has he done everything? Has he got the platinum? That's the real quick question. And that's what it comes down to. Any other business to raise for God of War before we move into sort of closing thoughts and the final verdict?
There was one edition that was very good. That was new to the God of War franchise. You commandeer a boat.
Yes, you do. Yes.
So and you've never been able to control vehicles or anything like that in this one. I suppose because it's never been open world. No. But I've got to say, I was expecting this is going to be a Witcher 3 horse jobby.
That remind me of Roach.
Bumbling about all over the shop. But being on that boat, it's steered perfect. But there's these sort of narrative segments you get whilst you're on the boat. A certain character will start telling you stories. And I just found myself, rather than getting to the destination and getting off, I just stayed on that boat and just listened to these stories. They were so interesting.
Yeah, even the interaction between Kratos and Atreus is good during those moments. And there's one part where he's asking Kratos to tell him stories or whatnot, and some of the garbage that he comes out with. Yeah. That he thinks is a story is quite hilarious.
It's really good. Yeah, I think because they changed the voice actor, didn't they? From previous, which another thing I thought fanboys were going to kick up, but any other game they would have there was a huge backlash when Kiefer Sutherland, everyone was like fucking hell, but now they've stripped away the old Kratos and they got some bloke that was in Stargate,
Christopher Judge,
that's it, Christopher Judge. But I've got to say he done a stellar job. He that was a big thing with Kratos. A lot of people didn't like him because he didn't really have a personality.
So he did.
Angry and shouting all the time.
Yeah.
But Christopher Judge really gives him a personality, and it just makes him a more grounded and relatable character. So
it's definitely a plus point there. What they've done with Kratos as a character. Well, then let's summarise your final thoughts before we move into the golden question. So. Overall, sounds very positive from what I'm hearing. Is that a right assumption?
No, I think overall it's a load of shit. No, I thought it was a phenomenal game. It's in my top 3 games ever, I think. It's it just resonated with me so well. Something could blow it out the water, and I'm probably still buzzing off the hype of it, but it's definitely top 3, top 5 for me. A new direction that was perfect for the series. It welcomed newcomers and it sort of ticked the boxes for old fans for me. There's something in there for everyone. You've got if you're into these third-person action games that sort of the narrative-driven where you ain't got to focus too much, there's stuff there for you. You're going to love it. If you're into your Bloodborns where you want challenge, it's even got stuff to accommodate you there as well. So for me, it is all-round thumbs up.
Excellent. So a bit of a formality, but let's do the question anyway.
Yeah.
God of War, should you buy it or bin it?
Fucking put down whatever you're doing now and fucking buy it.
It's not a higher recommendation than that. Although go on.
That's so much of a recommendation that a close friend of mine who hasn't owned a gaming computer, since the original PS1. I told him how good this game was, and the very next day he went out and bought a PS4 Pro and God of War and completed it within about the first day he was telling me he didn't realise how to work the controls. He said he felt like a nan. He couldn't control the game. He's like he couldn't fathom using the like sort of camera and walking at the same time. And then 2-3 weeks later, he told me he's just seen the end credits, and I was like, "Good lord!" And it's just one of those games that everyone will enjoy. So fucking buy it.
So even the novice or the most hardened gamer can get something good out of this. What is God of War's official grading?
So my official grading for the God of War, and I believe this is the first time I've ever given it on the Dimp. I'm giving it a platinum.
Crikey! I don't think you're allowed to give out platinum. It's only me.
No. Well, it needs authorization.
I've endorsed it, to be fair. So that's a sort of no. But wow, that's the highest sort of grade that we have at present. And I would agree with many of the points that you've raised. It's a fantastic video game, and that's the highest one you certainly reviewed. And let's hope we get a couple of more out by the end of the year. Who knows with what's in the baking tray, as you will. But well, nothing more for us to say other than go out and fucking buy God of War. And thanks for your time, and ta-da.
Oh, there do I see my mother. Oh, there do I see my father. Oh, there do they call to me. Oh, there do they call to me. Oh, there do they call to me.
That bow's a little big for you, isn't it?
My mother made it for me. Said I'd grow into it.
Find your way home. You are free.
We're taking our ashes to the highest peak in the realms.
Ashes?
It was our last wish.
Where must we go?
To a realm beyond your own.
There's only one person who can get you where you need to go. They call me Mimir, smartest man alive. First, you need to cut off my head.
Wait, what?
That axe you got. You gotta handle her special.
I know you're a god. Not of this realm, but there's no mistaking it. He doesn't know, does he? About your true nature? Or his own?
The longer you wait, the more damage you do. He will resent you, and you may lose him forever.
You're next! I'll rip your head off!
There are consequences to killing a god!
Why? How do you know? How do you know?
Power of this weapon, any weapon, comes from here. But only when tempered by this. By discipline. The self-control of the one who wields it. Open the door! We need your help!
This is no ordinary illness. The boy's true nature, your true nature, fights within him.
So I'm a man now. Like you?
No. We are not men. We are more than that. The responsibility is far greater.
Can you kill something that big?